Morning guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a couple little maintenance items. It's the end of track season, so I'm going to pull all the spark plug, check the gaps on them, make sure they're all where they should be, and also have a look at the health of the spark plug. They've been in there 20,000 kilometers with the JB4, so we'll see how they look. Also, I'll give you a couple other tips you can do under the hood of the Serato GT Forte to keep it running a little bit smoother. Some of it's pretty obvious, some of it you might not know about. So just me today. Bald. The beard is over there somewhere. He doesn't live very far away. He lives just over there. So we'll get into it, some time-lapsey stuff. And then if you have any questions at the end, let me know. Here's some of the tools you will need to replace or inspect spark plugs. Feeler gauge of some type, either this one or you can get the round ones. I use a gap of 0.022 inches or 0.558 millimeter. Needle nose pliers to remove some hose clamps, a extension with a spark plug socket ratchet, 10 mil socket if you want to use an impact wrench to buzz off some of the bolts. And also, this is a really handy thing you can get on eBay. I'll show you how it works later on. Basically, you put the spark plug in there, it threads in, and then you adjust the top. It's almost like a little mini C-clamp, so you can get the gap on the spark plug exactly where you want it. So we'll get the plugs out and see what they look like. They look pretty good still. Really white spots or dark spots on the electrode. The gap's opened up a little bit, so I will show you how to use this handy dandy gapper tool here. Let me set it up and I'll show you how it works. Okay, so basically what you do is you take the plug and you thread it in the handy dandy spark plug gapper tooly thing, as I've called it, until you get to the point where it makes contact with the top. Check the gap with gappy tool. As you can see, it fits in there and there's a little bit of wiggly room. So what you can then do is hold the feeler gauge in there with one hand, tighten down on the thumb screw with the other hand until you get it to the point where there's no more wiggly room. So that feels pretty good in there. Always good to not over tighten it, because opening up the gap on spark plugs is always harder than closing the gap. So check a couple times. So another quick tip is when you put the spark plugs back in, a little bit of copper anti-seize on the thread is always a good idea. So that way when you take them out next time, they won't be rusted or seized in there. So one spark plug done. When you put them in, be careful you don't cross thread them. Always start them by hand, not with a ratchet or impact wrench, heaven forbid. And then once you've got it started by hand and it's going in smoothly, you can then go to a ratchet.
2 hours later.
So once you have resistance, it's kind of just, quarter turn after that, snug. You definitely don't want to over tighten these and break one off.
No! God, please, no! No! No!
And then we'll do the rest. And that's it, guys. Spark plug. It doesn't take that long. It's like a half-hour job. Take your time. My advice is if you're doing something new for the first time, do it with a friend.
What an odd thing to say.
That's why the beard is normally over here with me whenever we do something new. We have a couple of new things coming up next week. It's just two heads are better than one. And we've often run into things where it's like, I think something's right. And he's like, oh, hang on a sec. And I'm like, oh yeah, good point. Do it that way. We don't read the instructions, so obviously that's an issue. So read the instructions.
Oh, hell no!
And then get a mate or a friend to have a watch of your work just to make sure. Okay, something else to check on the Serato Forte GTs. This is the map sensor. It helps with boost calculations for the ECU. It's located at the front of the engine just so you can see where we are. It's just those two 10 mil bolts. Okay, so you take those two bolts out and then it will just pop out. There's a little rubber gasket in there, so there will be some tension. And that is the map sensor, or boost sensor as it's often called. Power! What you need to do, just take a rag and clean it off. And what you'll find is there's some oil residue on there, and that can sometimes lead to a little bit of a stumble or misfire. I noticed in some of my JB4 data logging that there was just some odd readings in the boost. And somebody on one of the forums mentioned that he had a bunch of oil buildup on his, so I pulled mine off the first time and there was a lot of gunk on there. So cleaned it up, seemed to solve the problem. Like I said, it's one of those things that takes 2 minutes. Those two bolts come out, pull it out, clean it off, put the two bolts back in, and Bob's your uncle, if you have an uncle named Bob. If you don't, maybe you have an aunt named Bob.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Never mind, we won't go there. So that's pretty much it for spark plugs and map sensor cleaning. Gonna have some more maintenance videos coming up shortly. Simple stuff like how to change your oil, how to replace the front turn signals with LEDs, a lot easier than you think. So if you like the video, comment, subscribe, like. If you have any requests for videos, something that you've always thought, I wonder if I can do that, and surely if that guy can do it, I can do it too, then let us know in the comments below, and we can always shoot a video. Even if I've already done it to the car, I can always show you how to do it. Okay, we'll see you next video.